Hello, this is White with another YouTube tutorial. Today, we're going to show you how you can recolor Sally Maine's damaged child photo. So to get started, let's duplicate the background layer by using Command J. And then I'm going to go ahead and name this layer Base, and I'm going to desaturate it. And I'm going to desaturate it by going to Image, Adjustments, and then Desaturate. Now at this point you can use the clone tool to go ahead and remove the border. I actually like the border, so I'm going to keep it, but if you wanted to remove it, it would be pretty simple. You just click the clone tool over here and choose the size that you want. So I'm going to do, let's see, I think 45 is pretty good. I'm going to press Option click to select my base area, and then of course you can just go through and remove the portions of this. But I actually like it, so I'm going to keep it in. So there are two different ways to color an image. I'm going to go ahead and make a duplicate here and show you one. So I've made a duplicate of my base. I'm going to go to Image, Adjustments, and then Hue and Saturation, or you can just do Command U. And then I'm going to click on Colorize, and then from here you can choose colors. For example, if I wanted to have yellow hair, I can choose somewhere about 4925. And then I can use a selection mask by going down here. Clicking on that selection mask, I can then fill it in using my paint bucket tool, black, switching over to white, switching back to my brush, increasing my brush size to about 30, and then I can color in those spots. And so that's one way to do it. We're not going to be doing that process. The process that we're going to use is just by coloring in the spots that we want and then changing the layer blending mode to color. So I'll show you that. To get started, let's go to the color. So I'm going to just make a new layer by doing Shift Command N, and I'm going to name this hair. And so then the color I want to use is 807853. So there's the color I want to use. And I like working this way, so I'm going to color the whole thing. I'm going to add a selection mask. I'm going to go over to the black, and I'm going to paint, notice I'm on the selection mask, I'm going to paint that black. So the whole image is going to come through. It's now fully transparent. So then if I switch to white, and I go back to my brush, I can then paint in the spots I want. Now you'll see that it's like this, it's not very nice. So I'll go ahead and show you what it's going to look like. So I've clicked back on my color here, and I'm going to go down to color. And that's what it's going to look like. So then I'm going to finish up here and I'll meet you guys as soon as I'm done coloring the hair. So I've colored the hair and I've sort of made a mistake over here, and this is why I like using the quick selection mask. So I made a mistake over here on the right hand side of her face. You'll see I colored parts of her hair that I thought was her hair, but doesn't really look all that well. So with selection mask you can do non-destructive editing. So instead of erasing that part, I can just switch to black and then color that mistake in, and that will make that transparent. And I'm actually going to lower the opacity down here to about 50, 55 I think. Color back in. Because it's difficult for me to tell if that is hair or not. I think it might be part of the background. Okay, and then I'm going to change my opacity back to 100. Now on the layer itself, I'm going to change that opacity down to, I think, let's see, that's really sharp. So let's do 75. I think 75 is good. Yeah. And then just one little trick that I'm going to do, so I'm switching over to white, and I'm going to change this back, my opacity of this brush down to 55 again. I'm going to make it fairly small, and I'm just going to go along the base here. And that's to make the hairline not so short, or not so sharp. It's going to smooth it out a little bit. Alright. Okay, so again I'm going to do Shift Command N to make a new layer. And this time let's do, let's go and do the skin. So then I'm going to make a new color here. So let's do C0A585. Perfect. So same process as before. We're going to color in the entire thing. We're going to do a quick selection mask. Color that quick selection mask black. And then switching back to white and switching to a brush, we're then going to color in the parts here. So now that the whole thing is transparent, we're going to go ahead and color it in white to reveal the skin color. Oh, and also we probably want to go ahead and set it to color, the layer itself to color. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on coloring this. I'm going to move the skin layer below the hair layer here, and that's so that when we color it by the hair, the opacity of the hair layer will show through a little bit more. It helps it blend a bit. Okay, so I've went ahead and colored her in. To help make it look a little more realistic, I'm going to go ahead and lower the opacity of this layer down to 85. The skin's color still doesn't look that realistic, and the reason for that is because skin's a really complex sort of translucent color. You have to think there's the bone, there's the muscle, I believe there's 7 layers of epidermis there. So all those sorts of things affect your skin. Your skin is not a single block of color. So if you want to get really detailed, you're going to want to go ahead and make several layers of different colors and use different layer modes like darken, light, multiply, those sorts of things to get the skin color effect. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and change the eyebrows and make it a darker color of that blonde. So I'm going to go ahead and make a new layer again. I'm going to call this eyebrows. Press enter. And again, to make a new layer, that is Shift Command N. N as in Nancy. So the color I want for the eyebrow is 807, 807, 360. And then once again, it's really easy, change the blending layer to color and just paint over the eyebrow there. And I'm going to lower that opacity down to 90 to let some of that skin still show through. And now let's go ahead and get to the eyes itself. So we're going to want those to be a dark brown. So again, let's do Shift Command N. We'll call this one eyes. And that color is going to be 43382B. And so I'm just going to color over the eye here. And we're going to switch this to color again. And we're going to take that opacity down because that's a bit too literal of a color. Okay, and those are the eyes. And I can see there's little mistakes here. There's some of the gray from our skin. So real easily, we can just click back onto the skin mask here. It's on white, it's on a brush, so we're just going to paint over those spots. Alright, that looks like, and you can fiddle with that all you want. Okay, and so let's do the lips now. So Shift Command N, we're going to name it lips. And let's give her some reddish pink lips. So let's do this color. Let's do 9D5C87. Let's give that a shot. And so the same concept as before, let's change the layer over to color. And then we're going to color onto here. And that's really, really pink. So we might change the color, or we might try to see what it looks like with opacity. Okay, so the color that we're going to use is 9E6A70. So I changed the color because that was really, really too pink. So let's go 9E6A70, and I've changed the opacity to 55 on that layer. And so now let's take care of the whites. So Shift Command N. I'm going to name this layer whites, and we're actually just going to use the color white. We are going to change the layer itself to color still, though. So let's go ahead and color the entire layer white, and let's add the quick selection mask. Color that selection mask black. Use our white brush tool here to color in the spots that are white. Okay, so I finished with the white layer. Now let's move on to the blush. We're gonna give her some blush here. So Shift Command N, name it blush. Okay, so the color we want to use is AA5895. So I'm gonna press OK here. I'm gonna increase my brush size, and I think that's a good size there. And that's at 45. And I should have clarified earlier, I'm using a hardness setting of 0 throughout the entire process here. So I'm going to click on right about here. I think that's, she's a little right biased, so let's add some. Okay, I think that's pretty good. So I'm going to set that to color, and it's going to be really, really harsh pink, so let's set that down to about 20%. Because we want that to blend really nicely in. And I think that's good. I am going to add a quick selection mask onto that, and I'm just going to paint the right side of here so that that pink didn't bleed over. Okay, and so now for the dress itself, I'm going to do Shift Command N, we're going to name it dress. And there's a couple ways that you can do this one. The easiest way is to make a solid color and then put either color or overlay onto it, and then color the entirety of the dress. Or if you're sort of a stickler for perfection, you can color the individual black spots, the desired color that you want. For this, I am not going to be doing that. I've tried it before, and it takes a considerable amount of time, and the outcome isn't that much better than what you're going to get by doing the sort of lazy process. So let's all be lazy, and let's do the lazy process. So I'm going to color a single color here, and what color do we want? I think red will look good, so let's go red. So the color that I'm going to choose is 913A35, so I'm going to press OK. So I'm going to color the entire layer here, this red, and I'm going to change that color, or that layer blend, to color. And so then let's add a quick selection mask, color the entire thing black, and then switch to white. Again, let's go to our brush, and then we're just going to color in the dress itself, and I'll meet you guys as soon as I'm done with that. So I've colored it in the dress layer, and I've set the opacity to 75. And another thing I've done, so the color didn't look all that great, so I actually set it to overlay, and I've just kept, again, the opacity to 75. I think that looks better. The dress is going to be difficult really regardless of what you do. You can choose to do the option where you're coloring in the individual black spots, or you can do this overlay. It's really up to you. I'm sure you can get better results if you spend some time onto it. But we're going to go ahead and move on to the background. So I'm going to make a new layer using Shift Command N. And I'm just going to call this BG. And let's do a contrasting blue. So the color I'm going to do is 273637. Again, I'm going to color in the entire layer here with this blue. I'm going to add a layer mask. And I'm going to color that layer mask black. And then I'm going to color in the spots that I need the background to show through. So my brush is set to 90. I'm going to go ahead and get started and change again, of course, this to color. Okay, and so I've colored in the background, which was easy enough. One thing you can do is not worry about so much about coloring over the person. You can always fix that. Just move this background layer beneath the skin and all of that sort of layer, but keep it just above the base layer. Okay, and so now let's go ahead and make this look a little bit nicer. So we're going to group all of our adjusted color layers to an after folder. So I'm going to throw in the base, the background, and then all of these here. Okay, and so now that you've done that, you can view the difference by hiding your after layer here. So now you've recolored the image. You can go into more detail. Like I said, the skin can always use more work. You can add different layers. You can do light and darken. You can always scan through and make sure that there's no overlapping colors or anything like that. One of the nice things about this process, the way we did it, is that you have this base layer. And you may have been wondering why we kept it at all. And it's because you can still apply edits to it. You can do aesthetic edits. So, for example, if I want to get rid of this bruise on the right side of her face, you can do the patch tool. You could highlight over that little spot there. And then by clicking on it and dragging over to, say, the other cheek, you can click here and then do Command D to unselect, and you've corrected the image without altering any colors. And so this is going to conclude our video on how to recolor a black and white image. If you guys have any comments, questions, or suggestions, you can leave those below. Thank you.